Welcome to China Truths. In this episode, we will bring you the following story. The Great Escape is back, the Red second generation wants to flee too. Now, let's dive into the details. It's all covered in today's China Truths. The Great Escape is back, the Red second generation wants to flee too. In recent years, a large number of people from mainland China have emigrated overseas, including the wealthy, middle class, and ordinary citizens. Many believe that this is a form of soft resistance. The people's flight from China has always been a rejection of the rulers in Chinese history. In fact, after the CCP took control of China in 1949, there were several waves of mass migration, including during the Cultural Revolution. Today, as the economy sharply deteriorates and political persecution becomes more brutal, a new wave of migration to the United States has emerged. Veteran media personality Guo Jun said that the population of Hong Kong is now over 7 million, with about two-thirds of the population having fled from mainland China or being descendants of those who did. In 1945, Hong Kong's population was only 600,000, but by 1949, it had increased to 1.8 million, and by 1950, it reached 2.2 million, most of whom were fleeing the mainland. Guo explains that the concept of escape can be divided into broad and narrow definitions. Broadly speaking, it refers to those who left the country with proper documents, while narrowly speaking, it refers to those who crossed mountains and illegally immigrated. The broad form of escape began as early as 1949, when the CCP took control and forced many Shanghai capitalists to flee, what we would now call capital flight or migration. Many intellectuals also left, including prominent figures such as Zhang Yiling, Jin Yong, Qian Mu, as well as the fathers of former Hong Kong chief executives Tung Chee-hwa and Carrie Lam, and the father of Chow Yun-fat. Narrower escapes happened after the 1950s. Since Hong Kong was China's only densely populated region with relatively easy access, it became a major destination for mainland refugees. One famous example is Jimmy Lai, the founder of the Hong Kong Apple Daily, who illegally immigrated in the 1960s. Because so many people were fleeing to Hong Kong, the Hong Kong government implemented a buffer zone policy in the 1950s to limit immigration from mainland China. The buffer zone policy was based on an agreement between the British and the Qing government, which stipulated that the British authorities could not prevent Chinese citizens from entering Hong Kong Island or Kowloon, but such a provision did not apply to the new territories, which was under a lease. Thus, the British authorities could block immigration into the new territories but not in Hong Kong Island or Kowloon. As long as the individual could prove they were Chinese, they were granted identity cards, effectively allowing them to enter those areas safely. Guo Jun also mentioned that the exodus from mainland China actually started during the land reforms in Guangdong. His Hong Kong friend, Mr. Huang, shared stories of how his mother, a teacher, fled to Hong Kong with her children during this period, recounting how she went gray overnight in Guangzhou due to the intense hardship. During the Great Famine in China, which struck the fertile Pearl River Delta for the first time in history, many people fled to Hong Kong, where food was available. Tao Zhu, who governed Guangdong, believed that socialism had no need to fear migration, thinking that people would quickly return once they reached capitalist regions. However, after he opened the border, 200,000 people fled in just 3 days, leading him to close it again. During the Cultural Revolution, many intellectuals and young people from Guangdong fled to Hong Kong, including Liu Dazhong, the founder of Frontier magazine, who was a sent-down youth from Dongguan. Senior journalist Zhe Shan shared a story from the 1980s when he worked at Guangdong Television and heard about an editor who attempted to escape to Hong Kong 7 times, being caught each time. 3 times, he reached Hong Kong but was caught in the new territories before he could reach safety. On one occasion, he and his girlfriend tried to flee together, but to protect her, he was caught, and they were separated when she successfully reached Hong Kong. During the Cultural Revolution, most of the refugees were sent-down youth, and many died along the way. Some drowned while crossing rivers, others were shot by border guards, and many starved to death. Veteran writer and independent commentator Kai Shin-Kuan noted that the emigration from mainland China has both political and economic causes, with political reasons being more significant for the elite. During Mao Zedong's era, frequent political movements made it impossible for intellectuals or those with independent thoughts to survive. Some foresaw the dangers and fled early, while others fled only when they realized they were in imminent danger. Economic reasons also played a role, particularly after the Cultural Revolution and the Great Famine, when people in Guangdong fled to Hong Kong in search of food. Before China's economic reforms, large-scale emigration to Hong Kong had already begun. At the time, Xi Zhongxuan was in charge of Guangdong and saw firsthand the stark economic differences between Guangdong and Hong Kong. He then proposed a series of reforms, eventually leading to China's first phase of economic opening. However, these reforms were aimed at saving the CCP, not necessarily improving the lives of ordinary people. Kai Shinkuan noted that in recent years, many wealthy individuals have fled, not only people but also large sums of money, with capital flowing out of China every year. Wealthy individuals are looking for ways to protect their assets, while ordinary people, too, are fleeing to the United States and other countries. Li Jun, an independent TV producer, said that now even the Red Second Generation, or the children of high-ranking government officials, wants to flee. Ordinary citizens are increasingly crossing the US-Mexico border. After the pandemic, another wave of migration to the United States has begun. A Red Second-Generation individual in New York said that their main concern now is how to transfer their assets and leave the country as soon as possible. Shirshan concluded, quoting an ancient proverb, "Better to be eaten by a tiger than to live under a tyrannical government," indicating that many Chinese people are desperate to escape the mainland. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us.